is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 723, The Menu.
I mean, you can't really, you can't
I don't know
really
how
change
to...
that.
A menu.
Yeah.
2023, we're saying correct movie titles.
Yeah,
Oh.
no. Look, yeah,
Is that
It's all
a
over.
resolution?
turning
No.
over a new leaf.
Oh.
I don't make resolutions.
What's the point? I'm
I
just going to
mean-
break them anyway.
I mean, how am I going to improve?
That's fair.
I mean,
It's fair.
this is
You know
as
what?
good. This is as good as it's
Wow.
going to get.
You make a solid
Now, wait a
point.
minute. In 2022, you lost a ton of weight,
That's
got
true.
in shape.
Yeah,
He's gonna
right.
get tattoos.
So I'm done.
Tattoos and piercings. That's what's next. Ed Hardy
That was it.
t-shirts.
2022 was the improvement year.
Yeah,
Now it's
now I'm done.
baseline.
Yeah.
Now it's maintained.
No, I'm not getting into Ed Hardy teeth. No.
Some affliction
not
t-shirts.
Not going through a midlife crisis. I don't need to wear my tap out shirt.
How was that scary M. Night Shyamalan movie the
Start,
other day?
start drinking
yeah,
liquid
right,
death.
right. Yeah. Oh, I got.
The Ed Hardy of
Don't say
water.
it, Matt. Poor Matt Reedy.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna screw up his
know,
algorithm.
yeah.
Ed Hardy in your feed.
Jeff Hardy. That'd be all right. That's a wrestler.
Oh,
Okay.
every time I
was like,
get
I don't know. Laurel and Hardy?
if I get a sponsored ad or an email from Liquid
Liquid
Death,
Death.
I send it to Matt Reedy in his Messenger, because in Messenger, if you don't know, I'm sure you guys do, but if the listeners don't know, if you type anything into Messenger, Facebook's ads pick up on anything that you
It's
type.
crazy.
So shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That's always helpful and good for our egos. Lord knows we need all the help we can get. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It's called the League of Show Sharers. We're hoping you will share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week include Brendan McGuckin, Julian Jordan, Chris Valls, Gabriel Lugo, Travis Tewitt, Tammy Lynn Powers Betts, Ralph Tribble, Dissect That Film, Josh Rosen, Christopher Rex, Heather Sachs, Ken Holtzhauser, Invasion of the Remake, Chris Williams, Geek to Me Radio, In Session Film, Mike and Oscar, Nostalgia Cast, Colby Mack, Ryan Terry, Binge Movies, Feel and Film, and Matt Naglia. So thank you very much for sharing an episode. We
Thanks,
greatly,
guys and gals.
we greatly appreciate it, and all points in between.
That's right.
We also have a Patreon if you want to chip in. That's super helpful. Patreon.com/Real Spoilers, where for $5 a month, you get all sorts of bonus content, and you help us buy the new mics
Oh yeah, fancy.
that make us sound even better.
That's right.
Like we're just right there in your car with you.
It sounds so good.
Yes.
And what did you say on the last episode that it was going to be? Because we missed Christmas in December for holiday episodes.
What do you mean?
You said something about you made some kind of a pun with January.
Oh, that we're gonna do like a holiday movie for each.
No, you just said
I
like
don't know.
we missed December for being like Christmas horror movies in January, and you said something.
We're just
like,
gonna do New Year's Evil all of January.
New Year's Evil. and
That's
I
a real
thought-
movie. I'm not making that up.
Oh, okay. See, I gave you way more credit because I was like,
It's like, oh, trademark Real Spoilers.
we totally
trademarking something that should be trademarked.
we totally like glossed over that. And no one really paid any attention. I go back to editing and I go, oh, New Year's Evil. That was
That's
clever.
absolutely a movie.
Oh, never mind. Was it
I think
513?
that-
Delete all praise. For
Yeah,
Joe.
thanks.
Okay.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Infinity sign.
But no, we do have. So we've got a box office for 2022
Yeah.
that's a little out of date at this point.
well,
but we kind of
I
knew
mean,
that was going to happen.
The only movie that came out after we recorded doesn't really matter.
No,
so
that's
it's
true.
fine.
That's true.
Yeah.
We've got Matt and I. Matt was kind of chomping at the bit to finally talk about Halloween Ends, so we did that. And actually, the best part about that episode is I turned Halloween Ends on like as we started recording, and our episode is longer than the movie.
I would believe it. I've been on those Patreons.
And then we just that's true. And we just did Silent Night, Deadly Night.
I got to tell you something funny. Seriously, now that you mentioned that, and I'm glad you did, We've reviewed and talked about Halloween Ends so many times. I have moved Joe's audio files to the archive folder, and I still have to release that episode, so I will remove that. But
Well, we've only done it. How many times have we done it? Twice?
Well, we did a review, and then it comes up all the time.
Oh,
on the
sure.
Patreon, And then there's another thing. So I just figured, that's the old audio archive. I mean, I didn't delete it, thankfully, but archived it. But like, I literally have to take it out so I can edit in 2023 a Halloween Ends episode. They're still talking about this movie.
It's Matt's our
Did
discussion
he convince
is very
you finally
different.
that it's horrible?
Hell no.
Okay.
No, that's ridiculous.
Okay, well, don't spoil it.
I won't spoil it.
So anyway, there's all that. Let's dig in to the menu.
This is
Oh, and Happy New Year, by the
Happy
way.
New Year to you
Yeah,
guys
sure.
as well.
We bought a new calendar.
Yeah, I did.
It's so arbitrary.
One got given. One was given to us.
Yeah,
so
it's just-
I didn't pay for it.
Well, yeah, we're zoo members. We got a zoo calendar, and I was like, good enough.
Yeah.
Not
for
buying
me.
one this year.
Works for me.
It is funny though. I mean, I get it's the same celebration as anything birthdays, right? It's like, well, it's just you're one day older, but it's like a celebration of you made it another year on this earth,
I gotta
right?
tell you,
Like
it's been a rough couple years.
But that's true every day.
no, I know, but it's a time to take out and recognize that we've made it another year. But again, then on the flip side, as you get older, you're just like, it's just another day.
And
Like
no,
you're literally
I just have to remember to write a 3 instead of a 2.
Yeah.
So it's. I mean, I get
Well,
it. I
you're
get
really old if you're still writing checks.
Well, it's not just on checks. I write the dates
Okay,
on
you
all
got to
kinds
do
of
your
things.
little
Yeah.
reports and
Yes.
stuff.
I love how infrequently you have to write checks now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that has made.
I
it's just
don't
such a game
like
changer.
it because then somebody asks for one, and I was like, oh, can't help you. You got
You
Yeah.
got to
I'm
remember
like,
you
where,
got you got
You got to
Venmo?
remember where you
where
put
the
your
checks
checks.
are
Yeah,
stored.
right,
You just
yeah.
got to put them one place for once every 3 years when you get the new card and you have to do a down payment and that's what they take or whatever.
You got Venmo? I got that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, there's so few reasons to ever write a check now. Like even less than like
Oh,
all
yeah.
the bills are now electronic. You can send money through Cash App, Venmo, or whatever. Like the reasons, seriously, even when you go to the DMV, they're like, "We'll take a debit card." It used to
Dang
be
right.
only
Hey,
check.
that's true. That's
no
true.
cash, no credit cards. Check.
But they would charge you more for a debit card.
They'll charge you $1 or something. But
But it used to be more.
It used to be like a percentage because
Yeah.
they were trying to. They
Oh,
didn't
okay.
want to eat the fees,
Yeah.
so
Right,
it was
right,
like
right.
3%. So
I think
it's
now
like
it's just a couple bucks. 'cause
I always still take a check to the DMV.
gotcha.
Smooth.
But there's so many more options now. It's just nice not having to worry about that and write the little 100 squiggle
Yeah,
mark.
right,
you
right.
know?
I remember I was talking to Gwen, had a friend over earlier this week, and the mom was talking about something, and she was like, "Oh, I was balancing my checkbook," and I was like, "What?
Yeah.
Why?"
I never balanced my checkbook.
I mean, it's 2023.
I'll just call, and if there's money in there, I can write a check.
That's it.
Which is more than my ex-wife ever did.
She just wrote a check.
Oh my God. You don't even know.
Well, this is good to know. What is your mother's maiden name and your first pet?
She would go to the casino.
Oh no!
Yeah. And then
Like do advances?
and just write checks. And then she was not good at it. And then but then she wouldn't even tell me that she had done it, but she wouldn't write one check. Like you could tell like she'd lose and go back and write another check. So I'd sit there like scrambling to cover these checks.
Oh my God!
Not knowing like when it was going to be done.
Yeah.
Because back then like checks wouldn't all hit on the same day.
Sure.
Even if you wrote them on the same day. And so I'm like, okay, are we done? Is there going to be another check for $200 or $400?
Jeepers creepers! That's terrifying.
Yeah. And she did that one time, like 4 days before we were supposed to close on a house, and like went through like $3,000 in a night. And I was just like, and I assure you, we were not in a position to go through $3,000
Sure.
in a night.
Sure.
And it was just like, oh my God. I just-
Looks like you made it.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like,
As much as that song I can sing.
yeah. Or we'll have to pay for it.
Yeah, right.
It's probably cheaper than
$3,000.
her.
Yeah,
cheaper
right.
than her going to the casino.
Okay, the menu. We covered the hunt, right?
Yeah.
And was I the only one that liked that?
I think so.
Excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
great. This kind of reminds me of The Hunt, a
Except
little
not
bit.
bad.
I like The Hunt. I think
Yeah.
it's a fun movie.
I think it
I
could
think
have
there
been a fun
were
movie.
there were interesting things they were trying to do, and I don't think the execution was all there. But there were interesting concepts. in
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Considering it was written by, written by a conservative person.
I think there was one of each, and they were
Okay.
The movie didn't have a
Well, then that
voice, in
kind of
my
makes
opinion,
more sense.
which is what I didn't like about it. I was like, do one or the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, quit
No,
trying.
totally.
Yeah, like it's
So this kind of this had like vibes of that, and I think this is great.
This is, I feel, less political, more about class.
I
Yeah.
wish it had been more about class than how they wronged Chef. Right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of that to me, that was the takeaway at the end is he just brought these people spoilers. He just brought these people to the island because they had offended him in some way.
They're elitist pricks.
But
They
it's not-
are.
It's not just that they offended him, though. I mean, it's so much deeper than that. Some of the people had been going and eating at his restaurant for many, many times, and some people, I mean, they are connected in some way. Like there's people that finance the restaurant.
Yeah.
But it's not all just offended. They're all bad people in different ways. And the question is, by the end of the meal, do they deserve to leave and continue on this path? And,
Sure.
And we'll see if there is anyone that does deserve to leave out of this whole group that eats there. And so it's not just like, oh, you've offended me. Like, I think the funniest line to me was that movie line where it's like, I watched this movie and it was my only day off. And
Man.
like that was his greatest offense. Like he was not even a bad person.
Right.
And
No,
literally
he picked a bad movie.
That one was like just funny because it's a black comedy.
It is very
It's-
much so. Very
so
much
I
a
enjoyed
dark comedy.
that dark humor. But it's not really just like offended. It's like they've offended his sensibilities, like his life and his career, and he wants to make this great food for people to enjoy, and they've turned it into this
job.
just a consumable.
Yeah.
Only the elite can afford it. They're not really going to appreciate it. They can say they've had chefs cooking, and they're not actually even tasting the food. They just want the Instagram picture.
Yeah.
They want to tell their friends, oh, we eat at this exclusive place. We go to the island and do this. And so they've ruined and driven up the prices so that people that want to enjoy it can't afford it, and these people don't appreciate the art behind it. And so they've ruined his love and passion for cooking because they've turned it into just a consumable. Like I know food's always consumable, but it's like,
I think it's
here's money, here's this transaction. There's no art behind it. It's just I'm rich, give me food.
Yeah, I think when Nicholas Hoult starts talking about like the Chef's Table and like these shows, look, one of my guilty pleasures is anything with Gordon Ramsay on it, Master Chef, Hell's Kitchen, whatever it is. Like I thoroughly
MasterChef Junior.
Master Chef Junior.
It's funny because I do none of this. Like I don't watch any of the food shows.
And you're a reality TV guy. You like that stuff.
I like
Chef's Table is a lot of fun.
I like trashy reality TV.
Teen Mom.
I'm Teen Mom. I'm a little after lockup.
I gotta tell you,
But Gordon Ramsay yelling at people isn't like.
I watched one clip on TikTok of Teen Mom.
Yeah,
Guess what my algorithm wants me to watch from now on?
See?
Teen Mom.
All of it.
Yep.
I got to watch Macy and Farrah have it out because they didn't like each
That's
other.
some old school stuff.
Okay,
Farrah's
great.
been gone for a while.
Well,
I've never seen any of
sure
those
James
shows.
James Dean, the porn star, is really sad about that.
That is a while back. That's 7 or 8 years ago. So,
And his algorithm's still trying to get him back.
I'm not a foodie. Like
I got you.
like I hate like that's the bane of my existence is when we're at a restaurant and they're trying to be
Fancy.
foodie fancy.
I don't want to eat foam.
And so the thing, it was funny. Like so just fast forwarding to the ending a little bit, with the cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Crystal was like, "Oh my God, a cheeseburger!" Because my complaint about a fancy restaurant, it's always my complaint, is when a fancy restaurant almost any restaurant, even the fanciest restaurant, will have a burger on the menu,
Sure.
right?
But they try to make it into something fancy.
But then they'll try to make it into soming fancy.
Bison burger.
Or not even that, like Bice
Well, no,
burger.
it'd
Okay,
be like,
it's like, but they put it on
charcoal
a.
briquette.
They
not
put,
Kobe,
Kobe?
Wagyu.
Oh, sure.
or they'll put it on like a brioche bun with onion flakes and like
Right, right.
I don't know. And I'm just
They
like,
can't just have a burger.
I'm
It's
like,
gotta
look,
be
man,
high.
if I went to your fancy restaurant and I ordered a burger, like that burger is my out. Right?
Sure.
Like that burger is me saying, I don't want the fancy dish. Like nobody came to La Petite Fancy Pants.
Oh.
the little fancy pants?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then orders a burger if they're a foodie, right?
Sure. No,
So
absolutely.
Don't with the burger.
But they can't
Just-
charge you $30 for
I
a
don't-
cheeseburger.
No, they can. That's the thing. They can. Like no. I came to the fancy restaurant.
I knew what I was
to
doing.
appease everybody else in the party, right?
Right.
Like this is what everybody else wants. It's not what I want. So I'm willing to pay $30 for an $8 roadside diner burger
Yep.
in order for everyone else
Right.
to have pheasant under glass or whatever they're doing, right? And so when you make the burger fancy, you're defeating the entire purpose of a burger.
Yep. I don't need a burger with gold crusted onions and
You
I
don't
agree with
pour Falstaff into an iced Pilsner and no.
Wow.
You put it in a can.
Can we talk about the fact that you just referenced like a dead beer from St. Louis?
Well, yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, maybe if you still have a Falstaff, maybe you do because that's
My
old.
dad used to drink Falstaff.
No.
That's what they used to have.
Then he got a job.
You had to punch the hole in it so you could drink it.
That
two
was
holes.
an impressive
There was
pull.
no
Yeah.
pull
Yeah,
thing.
that was
on
pretty
it.
After
good.
Falstaff, then he got a job and he upgraded to Stag.
Well, I mean, he had diabetes.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way that works. I get it. But so we're introduced to Nicholas Hoult and Anya Taylor-Joy, and Nicholas Hoult is definitely a foodie. Like he has this reservation, and we assume that he and Anya Taylor-Joy are a couple.
yeah.
Like the way she's reacting to him and like kind of appeasing him, and they end up taking like a boat to this island. And
I would say it's a water vessel. It's not like a boat.
it's
a
true.
boat.
That's fair.
I'll
It
give that
is
to you.
a boat.
Yeah, there you
yes,
go.
Thank you. And we're introduced.
It's like
to,
a boat. I can't describe it. It goes on water.
It might have a motor.
there's
It's like
motion.
a car, but on the water. But
Those
there's
James
no
Bond movies.
wheels.
Those cars go underwater.
Just had to give you trouble. That was
No.
like
look,
a
man,
boat.
Look, man. If you
New
say
Year's, you're drunk. I
if you-
get it.
Yeah, if you say Nightmare or Josh Brolin,
Josh Brolin
you know
was
what?
driving the boat.
Yeah.
I will
The
take.
like a boat.
I'll take the hit
Yeah.
for the
See,
like a boat.
I've gotten so much crap.
That's
on my
fair.
stuff.
That's
But
fair.
To be fair, I have not said night mirror in
No,
years.
no, you haven't.
And I am traumatized. If I hear anyone on TV and an audio
You still hear it, right?
People say it all the time. So first of all, I was not the only one, and I hear it every time, and I go, "Oh my god, they don't know how to say nightmare." Like you guys have said it and traumatized me so much. I'm not kidding.
I think we only did it one time.
Well,
I think we
maybe
only
a
called
couple
you out,
times.
But it was
Maybe,
kind of a running thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you kept saying it,
Right.
right? And like I did it one time, and then it became the thing I did every time. But I was listening to an audiobook, and the people say it nightmare.
Nightmares and dreamscapes. Yeah.
and there's like so many mentions of it, and I'm just like pulling my hair out. Like, why do they say that? So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, I'm glad our public humiliation of you
Yeah.
worked out well.
But I do say Brolin. I mean,
I know
that's
you do. So we're introduced to all of these different characters. We've got John Leguizamo, who he's playing himself, right?
No, I mean,
You don't think he's playing like a
after,
version
so.
of himself?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
I don't
I
think
thought
he
that-
was ever as successful as
That's
this guy
fair.
was supposed
That's
to
fair.
be.
That's a good point.
Well, I mean, he was never opening a movie.
That's
Nobody's ever said, "Let's go see the new John Leguizamo movie."
I don't know. Spun was pretty good.
What? Spawn is terrible.
Spun.
Oh, Spun.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
I
I
thought
can
you
see the
said
confusion.
Spawn. I was like,
Remember Spun?
What
Was
are
it
you
Brittany
talking
Murphy?
About? It
The
is Brittany
drug
Murphy,
one
yeah.
when they're all. I like that movie.
But is he the star of that? Is she the star of that movie?
He's on the poster bit. He's like right there on the poster. I
Okay,
think he's
okay.
a pretty big part of it.
Yeah,
but
he's
anyway.
great in John Wick. There's
Super Mario Brothers.
okay.
movie.
The less
Super
said
Mario
about that,
Bros.
the better. You've got 3 tech bros, and then you've got like a high end food critic, and who I assume is her husband.
No, I think it's supposed to be like the editor
editor?
of the magazine.
Yeah.
Because at the end he says like the magazine will pay for the,
Oh, that's right.
and
he
so
does say
he's
that.
like totally sucking
Some
up
kind
to
of
yeah,
her.
underlay.
placating her.
Like she's like a name,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
a
sure.
celebrity. Food
Yeah, yeah,
critic,
yeah.
Which just disgusts me that that's a thing.
I agree
But,
with you.
You know,
Totally agree with you. So they go in and they all sit down. And
Did you mention the old couple?
I did not. You're right. I'm
Okay, so-
sorry. There's another Judith Light who's like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, who's the boss? What's up?
Basically, they're a couple that has been going to the chef's restaurant and eating there for years and years and years, and they're ones that are like a status symbol. Like
Yeah.
we just go there. We have so much money, we don't know what to do with it.
Must be nice.
So we go eat there all the time. Which like these people are all like, oh, we have to get in there and eat there once, and these people are just like, it's what we
And
do
there
'cause
is
we're
an
rich.
interesting interaction, and I say interaction, but like they're far apart between Anya Taylor-Joy and this old guy.
Oh, yeah.
There's something there, but we don't really know what that is. And I will say this movie is really good at. I wouldn't even call this. It's tough to call this a horror movie because it doesn't really.
there are elements.
There's
but
some horror
stuff in there.
elements. I would.
But I don't feel like it's ever really trying to scare you.
No, there's some jump scares.
Yeah.
It's
or
more
tension.
suspense,
It's horror adjacent.
thriller
but
with
yeah.
some, but there's some gory stuff that's
For sure.
like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely there is.
yeah.
So
Yeah, that chicken dinner was gross.
gross.
They didn't even bread and fry.
I know. What? That's how you get salmonella.
Yeah, right. What are you doing? What are you doing? So our characters all kind of go into the restaurant. We're introduced to Elsa, who is, I guess, the maitre d' of for chef.
She was in that movie Downsizing, which I love.
I knew I had
she's
seen her before.
the girl that Matt Damon falls in love with.
Oh, okay. But we've seen her in something else recently.
Oh yeah, she's been in several things, but I love that movie Downsizing. That's
Oh,
Alexander
see,
Payne.
that's
and
You're the Hunt, because I don't think we liked that movie.
It starts
Watchmen.
good and then it falls apart.
Oh, she is in Watchmen. Yeah, you're right. The show, not the movie.
the show.
Yeah. Yes, it does fall apart. Not the show Watchmen, which is fantastic.
Downsizing. Like the first hour is like, oh, this is really good. Where's this going? And then
Right.
it just kind of
And I like
crumbles.
the back. I love the back half of it of Matt Damon like living in this new world and exploring like what are they all gonna do. I found it delightful, but I get like I'm in the minority. There are people like me that just absolutely love it, but most people came out like.
No, thank you. Watchmen also fantastic.
But she was hilarious in Downsizing though, her character, because she was like telling Matt Damon what to do. She didn't mince words.
Nope.
You know, she's bossing him
She was
around.
authentic.
He shows up and she's just bossing him around, telling him what to do. And it was so funny and delightful. And their romance was so atypical in that way to where it's like you just didn't expect that to happen.
Sure.
And I don't know.
Because was it Kristen Wiig that played his
Yeah,
wife and like
she-
backed out after he had done it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had
I can do
forced
it.
them to do it, and then she backed out.
So the Elsa kind of lays out the rules and what's going to happen. There's going to be a multiple course meal, no pictures, which Nicholas Hoult just can't seem to contain
Yeah.
himself.
No, he's there for and that's the commentary. Each group is a different social commentary.
Did you think they were the
basically.
7 deadly sins?
Oh, I didn't think of that.
I kind of felt like, you had
To think about that.
like the tech bros who were
Like
greed,
of course.
and then you had
Gluttony would
Gluttony.
be someone eating a bunch.
Well, I
He's
think
kinda
I think
gluttonous.
he's glutton,
Right.
Right. I think the husband, the old man, is lust.
Oh,
I think
that's interesting.
the food critic is where you have like a avarice.
Okay.
Is that right? Am I making?
Is one sloth? What's that?
like
Sloths.
laziness?
Okay.
But that kind of is the mom, right? Like she kind of dressed slovenly. Hopefully, I just didn't make up a word.
I think you did, but we'll let it
But
pass.
I mean, like, so as I'm
Okay,
watching
that's
it,
an
I was like,
interesting
okay,
concept.
like I kind of see where we're going
Yeah.
with these folks.
But so like with Nicholas Hoult, he reads into all this stuff. He knows all the words. He takes all the pictures and wants all the clout. But when he gets thrown into the kitchen, he has no idea how to
Right,
make it.
right.
So he acts like he's an intellectual and knows.
I think a lot of this is a commentary on film critics.
Oh, I think you're right.
yeah.
I think the critic one certainly.
Yeah. But
Well, I also think Nicholas Hoult, right? Where you how many times have we talked to someone? This isn't directed to anybody.
Yeah.
Where they just talk about making a film or the cinema, everything about film. But if you were to be like, cool, go, they would have no idea how to do it.
Oh,
Right.
for sure.
So I think that there's something to that.
and just the idea of what the critic specifically is, you just so focused on just being hypercritical,
Right.
Yeah.
and just picking apart things that don't really
That-
matter.
When I think it's like the second course when they bring out the little thing and it's like, oh, this is it's like a amuse bouche.
Yeah.
And it's broken.
Like
the-
she's so afraid of liking something that someone else might not like,
right.
that she can't enjoy anything.
Correct.
Right?
She's got to critique it all.
And I think, I think a lot of film critics lose sight of the fact that it's okay for a movie to be fun.
Sure.
Like that's okay.
and it's okay to like something that people don't.
Yeah, and not everything has to be framed perfectly or whatever. Like Caddyshack is not a good movie.
No.
But it's a great movie.
Yes.
Right? Like it's
Absolutely
but,
right.
But
Well,
as,
dumb comedies,
yeah,
especially.
like as a
that's-
film critic, like there's nothing about that movie where you're like, oh, look how they framed this shot, or look
Right.
how they, but it's fun and it's funny and that's
That
okay.
Frank Conniff tweet is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
That was a pretty spot on.
Except for he starts it out with White Noise adaptation of this book, and I'm like, God, I hated that movie.
Was it
so
Michael
much.
Keaton?
But even then he says attempting. Like
Yeah.
like nobody attempts these
Yeah.
things.
The one with
right?
Michael Keaton with like ghosts in the VHS tape. That's
Not
what we're
that
talking
one.
about. Oh,
Not that one. Go watch this
That's a
one on
good
Netflix.
movie.
And let me know what you think.
But
but from that reaction, no.
Let me know.
but I think like you see it right now with all the year-end lists, how many critics aren't putting Top Gun,
Batman.
where it's like Top Gun was. I mean, there are some for sure.
Yeah, no,
but,
totally. No, I agree with you.
But like the St. Louis Film Critics Association, was it even in
best action? I thought it has
best
to be.
action? Of course. I mean,
Right.
but like that's
But I heard the Batman score didn't make it on
That's
the short
ridiculous.
list
That's
for the
ridiculous.
Oscars.
That's ridiculous.
That Michael Giacchino score is incredible because it's in the Batman.
Right.
It's not even on the short list.
But that doesn't make sense though, right? Like if you're gonna nominate, what was it, Suicide Squad for best
cop-
makeup?
well,
Why wouldn't you
yeah.
nominate the Batman for best score?
I think that there's a lot of really good scores and a lot of good artsy movies, and I think that for the
Yeah.
short list, they're just like, okay, well that one, like those ones on the short list, I think most belong there. So it's just like they've kicked
that's-
the Batman out because,
Yeah.
but that is one of the best. That score is fantastic.
But that's always been that's a new-ish thing. Like in the last 15 years, where the Academy has gotten away from everything that has to be nominated are these art house, just all of that,
Yeah.
like that, the hoity-toity stuff.
where the
Much
Oscars
like this
used to
movie.
be the biggest movie.
biggest
like Top
movies.
Gun would have been
Right.
Yeah.
Top Gun is more of a
I
traditional.
mean, the first movie that ever won Best Picture was Top Gun,
Bingo.
basically.
what was it?
Oh wait,
Wings?
what? Oh,
Oh,
it was
it's an
called-
you're not wrong.
It's called Wings, and if you ever get a chance to go, if you don't want to watch the whole thing because it's a silent movie, and I understand that's a lot for people, there's a video on there that kind of walks you through the stunts that they did in this movie.
Sure.
Holy
Oh really?
oh my god! I don't know how people lived. In fact, they didn't. Like the guy that does a lot of the flying, like he makes a movie like 2 years later and crashes and dies while making the movie.
my gosh.
Like
Dang.
they basically invented stunt flying
Did
for
John
this
Landis
film.
direct that one too?
Yeah. But it's crazy. And then they even show you how like there are shots that we take for granted, like, just the way they film a guy in a cockpit.
Oh,
Like,
sure.
They invented it in this movie. And and now you look at it and you go, well, of course that's how you film a guy in a cockpit, right?
Well,
Is Wings the one where they pull the table away and the camera moves through all this stuff?
No, it's where the two brothers run the airport.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. But
Okay, because there's a really amazing shot. Ryan Johnson had duplicated it or paid homage to it in The Last Jedi, and it's this 100-year-old movie basically
Yeah.
that it's black and white, and I feel like it's Wings, but I'm not 100% certain. But they moved the camera through like a crowd, and there's people at a dinner table, and they showed it behind the scenes of how they did it, and the camera moving, and then people like moving things out of the way so the dolly
Oh,
can go
cool.
through it. And it's amazing that back then that
Yeah.
they figured out how to do this sweeping movement through all this crowd of people and things.
Yeah.
It's just a really, really neat video. So
That's awesome.
I'll have to look it up and see if that's the one.
We start with our first chorus, and everybody, they're jerking off to it. And Anya Taylor-Joy, though, is definitely the odd person out. She's not eating the food. This isn't her jam.
she sees that the emperor has no clothes.
Correct.
Yeah.
She also
She's not a part of this.
that's the other thing
crowd.
is
It's-
when they all are checking in, Nicholas Hoult's character walks up and Elsa calls Anya Taylor-Joy a different name, and they're just like, "Oh no, like she couldn't come. Like this is my
And you
substitute."
have to have a couple or a pair. It
Won't
has to
see the table of one.
correct.
But they'll see the table of three, which makes no sense.
Oh. Well,
Yeah, with the tech
when we
bros,
get
yeah.
to that 3, I think there's a reason those 3.
Yeah,
are
then
there.
maybe they made exception
Yeah.
because
That
So
makes sense.
things are
But they customize the menu to each person because as we
well,
find
to each person or to like
each
like
meal.
oh sure
well, like
sure
they
sure
get
yes, yes,
pictures
yes.
of themselves and finances. We find out like
Oh,
they
I thought you meant they were customizing each person.
That's what I thought
But
the
there's
same
the
thing.
one dish where they bring out the tortillas.
like they
and-
do their research and
Yeah.
they have
That was my favorite.
they have
scene.
info on each person and like they need, and that's why like Chef brings back, she's like, I don't know anything about you, like you're not supposed to be here.
Right. So I wonder what was on Margot's tortillas. Not Margot's, the original date. Like I wonder what would have been on her.
Oh, that's a
original
good question
tortillas.
because they couldn't have made any
Right.
info.
So
about
yeah,
it.
so this
maybe,
scene is
well, you know what?
actually-
There's a twofer. She is on someone else's tortillas.
She is
Maybe they
someone
just,
else's.
Maybe they just duplicated.
That is
them.
true. So we start looking at the tortillas, and obviously the tech bros, their tortilla has a spreadsheet of the money they've been laundering and lying about. John Leguizamo has the poster of like Dear Mr. Sunshine or whatever.
Yeah,
calling Dr.
Calling
Sunshine.
Dr. Sunshine. Yeah.
Which just sounds like a Robin Williams movie.
It
no
does.
offense.
I think it's
Like,
supposed to be a riff on Patch Adams.
that makes sense. Okay. We've got Nicholas Hoult. His they must have made his like right then, because this entire time he's been taking pictures of the food, which you're not supposed to do, and on his tortilla is him taking pictures of the food.
Okay, so some nitpicks.
Yeah, yeah.
Why would he be taking pictures of the food when he knows he's going to die?
Was he posting them before? He was probably posting them
That's
on
a good-
Instagram when he took them, so he could at least have that out there in the
That's
world
a good
to be remembered
question.
by.
I kind of thought the same thing. Is like he's trying to take the picture and immediately post
I think he's
it.
taking them and posting them.
But I also think his hubris, not his hubris, but what do you call it when like thou shalt not covet thy neighbor? Like what is that where he is like
Covetous?
I guess because with chef and
Lust?
the food, lust kind of, but I kind of think that the old man is lust.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But like just the
Envy.
Yes, envy. Thank you. Where he is just so envious.
He's a star.
It's exactly what he is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to describe it. So he's taking pictures. The old man gets his, and it's him sitting with a woman who looks auspiciously like Margot, who is Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, you see, like
I do like that he makes sure to change seats with his wife so he doesn't have to look at the back of Margot's head.
yeah. So he like clearly there's something going on between the two, and we see that like it's the old guy
Right.
with Margot in the picture. So
Yeah.
This movie handles its exposition wonderfully.
I agree.
And the way it's very Altman-esque, the way it kind of weaves
Oh.
in and out of the various conversations with in the dialogue. And,
Sure.
And it
you know.
shows you and not tell you. There's
Right.
not a bunch of spoken exposition. You see through the meals. You
Right.
see through their reactions. And you just, like you said, there's natural conversations that happen. There's not a ton of exposition and backstory with, who all these, this
Right.
is my background. This,
Yeah,
you just
the
see
easy way to do this is to have the Elsa character almost be like Fantasy Island,
Sure.
and she's like, "This person's here because and have
right.
some-
Introducing them, Mr. and Mrs.
right, like it's and they don't do any of that,
Halbert.
like yeah,
But no, you're right, and everything is very natural.
Yeah.
In the way that they weave in and out of all these different tables.
John Leguizamo's there with his assistant.
Right, man. So there are some insanely funny bits in this movie where the tech bros see on their tortillas, it's the spreadsheets or whatever, and the guy's like, "What is this?" And she goes, "A tortilla."
yeah.
And he's like, "No, you don't understand. Like, what is on this?" She's like, "It's just a tortilla. Like, I don't know."
Delicioso.
Yeah.
And
It's so funny. And then we find out that John Leguizamo's assistant has been trying to leave and get a better job, and she's like handing him back the phone and the keys to even the apartment in New York that nobody knows about. And finally, when we get to a certain point, she's like, "I've been stealing from you." And he's like, "Yeah, I know." He's like, "I sent Sony a bad recommendation." She goes, "Yeah, I know." She goes, "How?" He's just like,
You
"You CC'd me on the email." It's like, it's just little bits like that give you a moment of levity, because there are certain.
my biggest laugh, I don't remember what it was in response to, but it was
Where she went to school.
when Margot, they asked Margot something and she just goes, "Yeah," like kind of disgusted, and I was just like, "Oh, I'm like, that's so great." Like I'm like, just a great line reading. Like that joke is not on the page.
Sure,
right?
sure,
Like
sure.
her delivery made that funny.
It was perfect.
Yeah, and I was just-
she's really good.
yeah.
The line I was referring to that was really funny.
Where
is
did you go
when,
to school?
When Chef is talking about like she's like, "Oh, I went to school and and did whatever. I'm a good person." Whatever. He's like, "Did you take out any loans?" No, you're definitely
dead.
dying.
Right. Yeah.
Where did
She
you
went to
go?
Brown.
Yeah, where did you go? Brown. Do you have student loans? No, you're dying.
Great. I mean, and Ralph Fiennes in this
So,
movie
he's great.
is incredible. His
Yeah.
performance is fantastic.
Wait until he's Professor X.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just think it'd be fun.
Oh,
I think you'd make a fun Professor X.
yeah, okay, fair enough. But he is
I
so
feel like
good.
20 years ago, this would have been Anthony Hopkins.
Without question.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
But he
Yeah.
should be recognized for the acting in this film.
Yeah.
Because he's fantastic in this. His line delivery. He's a great actor. We know that he's been in countless great roles.
The dude doesn't have to work anymore. You get that Voldemort money. You're
I
sitting
mean,
pretty.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, you
But
don't have to-
he always gives it his all. He's been in a ton of great stuff, and this is no exception. And I just think that this is another one of those roles that might be kind of glossed over because of the genre, because of the
it's
horror
lesser
adjacent.
than.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, he is giving a phenomenal performance.
There is a subtlety to his performance in this where he is deadpan, right? Stone faced the entire time. And when she asks him to make that cheeseburger and he's making it, he has these little moments where like the crook of his mouth like breaks into a smile, and it's so subtle, and it tells you exactly what she was trying to do and what it's doing. Yeah. Where it's making him fall back in love with cooking.
Right.
And
Though the thing that they've lost, I mean, I know that we're jumping to the end, but it's eventually, there's one person that actually appreciates his food and his art for what it should be and what it used to be. And it's not just a status symbol and to say that you've been there and for all these, and to make money off of and as a business and all that stuff.
She's legitimately enjoying it.
Cooking, right? And she is the audience that he used to want to reach, because we find out later on in the film, he's in high school flipping his first burger and he had a big smile on his face and he loved to cook. He cooked because he loved to make people happy. And
he still had his Employee of the Month plaque,
right?
Like that was important to him.
Yeah, and so and over the years that's been lost, because as he gets more popular and more famous, the prices have to go up because of demand, and then all of a sudden again it's a bunch of rich people just eating his food to say that they have, and the person that he wants to reach is Margot, is her, the lower middle class.
That's the customer he
wants to make great food for people and make them happy, but they've been priced out, and now only the rich snobs that don't appreciate the art of it and enjoy the food, they're the only ones eating there, and it's killed his love for his art. And so
but that's also a process that film has gone through, right? Like when film first started, it was for the masses. It was lesser than. It was like, well, but you're not theater. Right. The real actors, the real art, that's all on the stage.
It's all on stage.
And it wasn't until the 70s, and
is that really when you think it movies
because
overtook theater?
Oh, no, that's not where I was going with the rest of the sentence. Like, it wasn't until the 70s that you started to see the directors that grew up really picking apart these movies that were designed to be popular, right?
Sure.
And so, like, nobody, it was the Spielbergs and the Scorseses and the De Palmas that really started figuring out, like, oh, wow, this John Ford Western, it's very different from these other Westerns. Why is it different? And then starting to recognize that, like, okay, yeah, he's making a Western, but he's doing something more than just making a Western.
Finding the artistry.
Yeah. And then they would take those and insert them into their films.
I got you.
But then at some point, it gets distilled down to the mechanics of the artistry, rather than, like, he was doing these very artistic things to achieve an end goal, like the table. I know that's not a John Ford shot, but the table thing you were talking about. They were like, how do we solve this problem? And then they solved the problem. Where, and I like Rian Johnson a lot, but but that's also kind of an example of the problem. He just did it to do it. Right. He just did it because he loved that shot and he wanted to do it. But these people originally were like, this is what we want to do. How do we do it?
Yeah.
Like I was Carpenter in Halloween. Like, how do we make this tracking shot work?
Yeah.
And you're just trying to, it's the 1978 and you don't have the technology yet.
You don't have a steady cam.
You just make it.
Yeah.
That's
Dean Cundy
absolutely.
Is the genius
Dean Cundy, if you don't know who that name is, he has filmed every single one of your favorite movies. Like, at least one of them.
One of the greatest cinematographers of all time.
Easily.
Halloween, Jurassic Park,
Back to the Future.
Like,
but it's great when a critic, that people know those things, but at some point when it becomes only about those things,
right.
It's no longer fun or enjoyable.
Well, it's the difference between that movie looks really cool, but there's no story, and the dialogue isn't.
Didn't we just have something like that?
Zack Snyder and everything.
But if it's just a technical exercise, it's if the movie just becomes a screensaver,
right?
And you're like, well, that looks
like that was
really
my
cool.
complaint about Pinocchio. I thought it looked. I mean, I know people loved it, but for me, like, I thought it looked great. It was an amazing technical achievement. But in terms of animated movies of the year, which would I watch again? Marcel the Shell with shoes on.
Fair enough.
Like, that was a good...
That whole thing animated or just her?
Just the shells.
Which is such a weird thing that I still don't get how that's possible to be nominated for animated. When it's just a part of a live action thing.
Yeah.
I mean, tremendous, but I just...
But then why isn't Avatar animated?
Right.
That's a valid point.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Avatar's more animated than Marcel. Why?
Yeah.
Ready Player One was like 95% animated, and they didn't let them. They literally
Did they put it
not,
in? Did they? Oh,
They did not allow them to be entered in.
that's so weird.
When the movie is a majority and
Yeah.
like 70, 80, like it didn't meet the threshold, but it is there.
Right.
Where would you put like Bedknobs and Broomsticks? And I'm asking that like legitimately, like
Yeah.
that I feel like that.
I think it's live action with, and I think it's Marcel and Bedknobs and Broomsticks are the same
Okay.
genre.
That's
Like if
fair.
you were to put them in a category,
So
whatever.
Roger Rabbit?
yeah,
Yeah.
Roger Rabbit,
Same,
absolutely.
But it's got a lot
animated.
more animation, though.
Yeah, but he's still interacting with.
Yeah.
But it's not an
Real
animated
people.
movie. I would never call Who Framed Roger Rabbit an animated movie. It's a live action with animation. in it.
Man, that.
Why isn't it animation with live action?
Yeah.
You
It's
got
just-
chocolate
it's
and no
not.
peanut butter.
It's not. It's filmed in It's filmed in camera, and they add animation on top of filmed in camera. But now, if you put a live action CG on top of a hand drawn or computer animated thing, then I think it'd be animated.
So are you saying that it would go in the same
So
category as Bedknobs
Wall-E-
and Broomsticks?
Live action, yeah.
So
Okay.
Wall-E
It's not
doesn't count as animated because of Fred Willard.
No, it's if you have a live action thing in an animated
That's
movie.
a Brad High rule if I've ever seen one.
If you have live action again in an animated movie, it's animated. I just mean that if you film it live action and put animation on top, I think that those are animated elements in a live action movie.
But something like Avatar is almost fully animated.
with again,
But
that's
then
where
it's live action with animation on top, though, because it's motion capture.
It is mocap. That's true. So there is
But
an
then
actual.
in that case, Monster House is not animated.
also
And
correct.
Polar
ma-
Express.
No, motion capture is animated. That doesn't mean it's not animated.
But you filmed live action and put animation on top. That
No,
was
you
your
didn't
definition.
film it. You motion captured.
Ooh, this is now.
Say-
Now I think that is a.
And then now, if it goes straight to Netflix, it's a TV show.
but I do think that
That's a
there's something.
performance that's captured.
I see, but that counts though, right? Like to me,
I mean,
animation,
what is film doing?
Yeah.
It's capturing a performance.
I think it is. You know, you look at.
We're having an existential
yeah,
crisis.
I know. There's the Snow White thing, right, where the guy watched a movie Sleeping Beauty of a woman dancing.
Well, they all did it.
and just
Every single movie,
right? But then
was-
just that's
they're all rotoscoped.
That's the same. To me, that's a very early version of
Motion
motion
capture.
capture.
Yeah, which is animation.
So
Well, he's still animating.
right, but Avatar is in the same boat. It's just the next step of rotoscope.
Yeah, which is animation. That's what I'm saying. They're all animation.
Oh, okay.
I'm on the if you animate the characters, whether their performance is motion capture or not, but a computer is animating it, it's rendering it, it's animation, then it's animation. If it's filmed in a camera and it's live action, like we're being filmed now, and if you put a penguin walking across our screen right now, it's not an animated podcast. It's a podcast that has an animation going.
Joke's
across
on you. I have a live penguin.
See, and it was
As long
so
as it's
good.
not-
I thought it was animated.
As long as it's
but
not rotoscoped, we're fine. Anyway,
what the hell were we even talking
I got
about?
that's a good conversation. I think that's a legit conversation.
Yeah.
Though, is
No,
like
that's- these
like
are the
where
debates.
where things fall.
This is why this podcast exists. We're a
That's
bunch of
also
guys
true.
that just saw a movie and we go to get drinks afterwards and we are debating whether or not something's animated.
That has nothing to do with the movie that we saw.
Poor Death Star contractors.
Yeah, I know, poor guys. Oh. Put a bar right here. That's all I gotta do. So Nicholas Hoult, like the entire time, Nicholas Hoult has kind of been the good guy. He's just really excited about trying.
There's
There's a-
he
no,
is
he's
a douche. From
He's the classic nice guy
that
Yes.
tells you he's a nice guy.
that quote unquote
Right.
that thinks I've been performatively nice to you.
Yes.
So now do the things I want.
I'm saying like up until a point.
Yeah.
There.
You
he
start
is-
off thinking he's a nice guy.
right,
But the way he talks to Margot
Yeah.
and the things he
But
says
as soon
are
as
big red flag.
as soon as she doesn't do what he wants,
Right.
now in his defense,
oh boy.
he's paying her to do what he wants.
also true.
they have a
We do-
contractual obligation.
We do
That
find
does
out that
change it a little.
a little
bit.
bit.
I mean,
he's still
he's,
to
Yeah.
be clear, because he's mean and cruel about it, right? So like, but to a degree, like she's an employee who
Yes.
has agreed to. I mean, she's a hooker,
Yep.
an
An
escort,
escort,
and,
sex
and
worker.
sex worker, whatever
Not in
we're
Las
supposed to say
Vegas.
this week.
Is that
And-
right?
well, I don't know.
Oh, I was like, does the
Well,
Vegas have a rule that you
it's-
can't?
Yeah, it's legal, right?
Oh,
It's
sure.
Prostitution's-
no, it's not legal in Las Vegas.
Well,
but
out
it's legal in Nevada.
Nevada.
There it
But
is.
it's not legal in Las Vegas.
Yeah. So it's like.
But I don't think they care.
No.
But she's an escort, and so I mean she's entered into a contractual obligation to play along
Yeah.
with this.
But if you're an asshole
But he's
that
a dick about
hires an
Yeah.
escort and you treat them like crap, you're still
Correct.
an asshole.
But not only does he hire her, but he knows he's hiring her to
die.
To
Like
die.
he's essentially murdering her.
Yeah.
But once you find that out, obviously, you know he is a bad
Right.
guy. You're
I
talking
think
about
I think we're even past that, where he's like, he calls her a child.
Yeah. Very condescending.
Very much so.
But
and then,
pre finding out, you know, these are all the little clues you pick up. But certainly, I mean, we know he's a bad person because anyone that would bring an innocent person,
Right.
using them as
Right.
fodder because you want to experience the chef's cooking who you worship and you know they're going to die, like that's
You're a
he's
scumbag.
a terrible,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beyond he's a
and
murderer.
and there's a reason that his other date broke up with him.
Yeah,
Right. So, everything
dodged a bullet, literally.
legit. Yeah. So
Oh, and we should say though, and something we didn't mention, this whole experience, the chef and all the sous chefs and the waiters and the workers and everything, it's very cult-like. As
Yeah.
soon as
It's
you see
very
the way
cult-like.
things operate, everyone calls him chef. Like he's
Well, but
this-
that's how kitchens like
that is
that.
how
That's how
kitchens
kitchens
do,
like that work.
You do operate that way. Like it's yes, chef, no chef.
I get the
Yeah.
respect of it all, but what I mean is the willing to do anything. Like when the first guy kills himself.
Well,
clearly,
yeah, now you're in different territory. But before that, even like,
There's a reason it's called a brigade.
yeah, I mean, I think there is a cult around chefs, and it's a
Yeah.
commentary on just the nature of celebrity
Right.
chefs and whatnot. But
But the way they talk in unison, and yes, chef, now like they're in the army or something, like to me that felt very cultish. And I don't know if I get that you
I
respect.
mean, it is cultish, but it also it wasn't a major red flag because
Yeah.
kitchens at that level operate that
Okay,
way.
I could
Yeah.
see it being similar for sure.
Yeah.
Like I know it probably is a commentary on the
Yeah.
chef culture and all that, but I think that was my first red flag to where like it seemed something was above and beyond, and I can't remember the exact moment that happened. But when they were talking stuff, because I went into this movie not knowing anything about it.
Oh
Same.
dang, that's awesome.
I
Same.
had
Yeah.
no idea what was going to happen. So when I watched it, I'm like, this is weird the way they're all like acting.
Because
like,
the trailer didn't intrigue me at all. Like
Oh really?
yeah, I was just like, this looks kind of dumb. I don't
And-
care.
and I-
Especially because so much of it was about foodie stuff, and I don't
Right,
like
yeah.
foodie stuff, and I don't like movies where it's just fetishizing
Foodie.
food stuff. Like I
don't disagree with you.
did it give anything away?
the trailer.
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've seen it, I don't remember. Especially because I wasn't intrigued. It just
Right.
kind of.
I
like
think that
went
it gave you
through
the
me.
inclination that there was something
Okay.
extra.
I hope they
Yeah,
hit it
like
because
you knew that there was some sort of
something,
like
but-
like people were in danger.
Okay,
and,
okay.
and that things
because
were not
actually
what they
the
seemed.
scene with the birthday cake is
Yeah.
in the trailer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like the guy's already got blood on his face. So you're
Okay.
like, which again, fantastic scene.
Yeah.
The guy's like, you told him it was my birthday. He's like, it seemed appropriate at the time.
It was funny 3 hours ago.
Which I think that's a great line.
So I mean, what we get essentially is people killing themselves for the chef, like where it really does go beyond the chef culture and into a cult, as you have these people willing to die,
Well,
which
yeah,
is like very cult like.
there's a sous chef that comes out and he had prepared this next course, and basically chef breaks him down and says, you wanted to be here, you wanted to be, me, you wanted to have my skills, but
you'll
you
never
can't,
be
but
as
you
good
can't
as
do
me.
that, can you? And of course the guy's like, no, I can't do that, and he pulls out a revolver and blows his brains out in front of everybody. And I do like that the food critic and Nicholas Hoult and some people are like, this is
isn't
this is
real.
part of the show.
And because I honestly, like, if I was in that situation,
Same thing.
I'd be like, this is a show.
It's all part of the show.
I did wonder. Part of me felt like, and I don't want to spoil this, but very much like The Game or something. I was waiting.
Oh
for,
no, that's a great call.
Oh, like-
I don't want to spoil it because that movie is phenomenal. But I was very much waiting.
Fincher, baby.
Yeah, I was very much waiting for it to somehow be performative and to teach them a lesson or something. A lesson they could learn
Spoilers for the
from.
menu. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
yeah, there's no menu 2.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, there's not.
Electric
No.
Boogaloo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the sequel to Midsommar. It's the same
Yeah.
same thing. So Chef tries to get information from Margot, and she just won't give him. She's like, "My name's Margot. I'm blah blah blah. This is
So
all I
here's
have."
one of the things I really like about this scene
In the
Maybe-
bathroom?
Oh, maybe it's later in their office. But when she talks about the fact that she's a sex worker,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's happened before, but I don't know that I've ever seen a major studio release where the person's a sex worker because they want to be.
Oh, good call.
Well, this is very much a 2022.
Yeah, like and she doesn't. He says, "Do you like it?" And she says, "Well, I used to."
Yeah.
like she's kind of ready to move on from it, but she's not she's not a victim.
No.
I mean,
No.
she's a victim.
She's a victim here.
because she's on this island.
Sure.
But she's not a victim because
Of her
sex
position.
work has
Sure.
victimized
Right.
her. It's obviously.
Yeah, she owns it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where we find out the connection between the old in this office meeting between Chef and Anya and Margot, where she says she's like, yeah, I know that old man. Like he used to make me look him in the eyes while he jerked off and
Called me his daughter's name.
Yeah.
His dead daughter's name.
and like I would just agree with whatever he said, and then
Which makes you wonder, what was that relationship?
I think it gives you a pretty good idea.
I mean,
as to what that was,
and that is why this movie works, because they're trapped there. The goal is to kill these awful people,
Right.
And if they were just killing innocent people,
Right.
it
like
wouldn't
none
work.
of these
You would-
people are likable. The closest I think is John Leguizamo and his assistant.
That's true. He didn't do anything wrong.
His thing
Yeah.
is really just a comedic. You made a
Right.
bad movie I didn't
Yeah,
like,
right.
Which is honestly kind of an act of hypocrisy, right? Because this guy's career, the chef's, is dictated by critics,
Right.
And
and now he's critiquing art.
and
as well.
yeah, and it's like and obviously this movie we're talking about is fictional,
Sure.
but it's a cheeseburger.
It is a
Right.
a very, very well
And
done cheeseburger.
It might not be a good cheeseburger. It might be a McDonald's cheeseburger versus whatever you're but it's like but some people are gonna like it, and that's
Right,
okay.
of
Not
course.
everything has to be for you.
Yep.
There's
There's all kinds of stuff out there.
yeah.
You can find whatever you want.
But that's the thing about this film, though, is that it works because these are all horrible people, and you want Anya Taylor-Joy to escape because
Right.
she is the one that doesn't belong, and Chef knows she doesn't belong. Everyone knows that she is of a different class. I'm not saying that bad way, but these are all a bunch of rich, snooty people.
Yep.
Exception of Nicholas Hoult, because he is a worshiper and got
Right.
in there, but she doesn't belong there, and so you're hoping she escapes because she's not one of them. And Chef keeps saying, like, you're not supposed to be here, and he's like, are you with us or with them?
Right.
And what we find out is that no matter which side you choose,
die either way.
Yeah, there's like an air of like, okay, well, yeah, if you're with Chef and them, they're the good people and these are the horrible people, but they both die in the end.
Right.
So it's like there's no for her, there's no joy in that. Like,
Right.
she wants to leave. She wants to live.
Get me out of here.
Yeah. So
we'll kind of burn through these real quick. No pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
The tech bros kind of get super pissed, and they say like our boss kept Chef in business during COVID, and he was like, "Cool, look out the window, and there's the boss
Yeah.
with a set of like angel's
Angel
wings,
wings,
and they
yeah.
just lower him into the water, and they just let him
He's on
drown
an island, so he
Right.
drowns out there.
So the old man gets his ring finger cut off because he tried to leave, I guess, and they said don't leave, and he tried anyway.
Yeah.
And they're like, which one, head or gut from The Last Boy Scout. And again, funny line where Elsa kind of picks up the husband's wedding ring because that's the finger they cut off, and she goes, "Here's your husband's wedding ring."
Yeah.
And Judith Light's like, "Oh, thank you,
Thank you.
right. The Nicholas
and
Hoult,
she's like surprisingly
Drunk?
not that she's enjoying it or anything like that, but it's like this is the thing with these rich people, and I don't know if it's a commentary on that they don't think that anything's going to happen to them or whatever, but she's like not freaking out. She's just kind of
because
like
she's hammered.
I feel like she's almost kind of resigned to her fate.
yeah, because she's the one at the end who's just kind of like, you need to go, right?
Right.
Like, you
Yeah.
deserve,
She
like,
kind of gives her like the shoo.
I think she realizes that she and her husband and these other people, for the most part, have been terrible.
Yeah.
And so she does seem very much she's accepted her fate.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
throughout this
There's-
whole thing, she's just kind of like,
just do rolling with it. All the men are taken outside, and there's a chase, which I don't really understand this part. Like,
they
why?
can try to escape. He gives them
Is that what it is?
a head start.
Okay.
And if they can escape, they escape.
And the women go back inside and just hang out. And I do like the Judith Light's like, "Do you know my husband?" To Margot, she's like, "You know what? Fuck it. Yeah, I know him." And they were just like, "Okay, that makes sense." Another funny bit that we didn't talk about is the food critic says like there's a sauce or something that is broken, and she's like, "Oh, you wouldn't expect this."
just keep
and they
bringing her-
just keep bringing her like these bigger and bigger vats of this sauce that has broken.
Yeah.
And it gets more and more broken as I was like, that's a pretty funny bit.
Yeah.
And finally, Anya,
I think the one thing that I thought was, I don't know if this is purposeful, but the actor who plays the sommelier,
Yes.
who's coming around with the wine.
Yes.
Do you recognize him?
No.
He's from the Sonic drive-in commercials.
Oh, really?
which is like, I don't know if that's purposeful, but I kind of like to think
That's
that it is.
fantastic. That's so. It's
They should've got
it's
Bean Croc
Bean
in
Croc.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
get the gal
from
from
Blair
Blair
Witch.
Witch. Heather, I think was her name.
Yeah,
Heather Blair Witch, yeah.
Donahue.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
there we go. Yeah. So Chef ends up like recruiting Margot at this point. When we find out that Margot's real name is Erin, and we go from there. She has.
I'm not sure it is.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I do kind of feel like she's being honest in that moment with the women, right?
Yeah, maybe. But I could see a version where it's not where
Not her real
Margot
name either.
was the
Margot
real name
was-
and this
yeah.
is the fake name.
That's
you know?
fair. That's fair. So Chef kind of has.
Well, aren't they like doing research in real time, and he's trying to find something on her, and
There's
can't?
nothing.
Isn't that why?
Yeah.
Because Margot isn't her real name.
I mean,
'cause
it
they
makes
can't
sense
find
that
the
she wouldn't
research.
use a real name,
Margot Mills.
So maybe they gave it another fake.
but she
name.
could have gave another
She-
fake
right.
name.
Right.
Like I'm not convinced that Erin is her real.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it doesn't.
But they're
matter.
Doesn't
looking.
matter.
They're trying because they're tailoring these meals with all their
Correct.
meaning, and they're.
We should say that Chef. It sounds like he assaulted a woman, and
Yeah.
one of the other sous chef, and she ends up stabbing Chef in the leg, which is from a story that he had told about his father, and then marks him with blood. And I was like, dang, like even Chef is a scumbag.
Yeah.
In this whole thing. So Margot, they task Margot with.
Well, Chef is trying to kill everybody.
That's
so, I mean,
fair.
He,
I guess that's fair.
Ultimately, even if these people have wrong society, and this is a movie with a social commentary and all that, but like the character of Chef is allowing everyone
Yeah,
to die.
Correct.
He's
So-
a mass murderer.
That
he's
is
murdering
true.
everyone. So like,
That is true.
he is a
You
scumbag
make
for
a
that.
good point.
But he's also made some bad moves before the
Right.
murder plot.
And I do like that she's like, the other sous chefs kind of says, I rebuked him, and then he tried again, and I said no, and then he wouldn't talk to me for 8 months.
Yeah.
And then she stabs him in the thigh with a small pair of scissors. So
She
they
still
task-
buys into his BS.
She does though.
Yeah.
Once you're in, that's a cult though,
'Cause he's
right?
a cult
Yeah.
leader. Yeah.
That's the Jonestown is a
Yeah.
prime example. If you've
matter
never-
what they
you've never seen a
say-
sacrament, highly recommend that. It's terrifying.
the abuse and the terrible
All
control
of
they
it.
have over you and everything, and yet you just do the bidding.
Yeah,
and-
you do what I'm starting to rewatch that Nexium doc. It's like, God dang, like this is crazy. Also, that guy's such a worm.
I know.
Such a
I
worm.
haven't seen that one.
There's one on
it's-
Hulu, not about Nexium, but about I can't remember the name of it.
There's two on Nexium.
But it's not about Nexium.
Oh.
It's this lady that like basically starts a cult, kind of pulls out of her YouTube channel, but they're following her, and you see it kind of forming in real time.
Oh, man, that's terrifying.
It's fascinating. I'll have to get the name.
Yeah, for
and find
sure.
it, but it's
There's three on Nexium. There's 2 seasons of the one that's on HBO.
Oh, is there another season of that now? I only watched the
out-
first one.
It's out now, and they talk to the number 2 gal.
Yeah.
They get a hold of her for the doc.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
So we should mention that Chef says that Nicholas Hoult was in on it.
Yeah,
He's
they've
the
been
only
they've been
one-
corresponding the whole time. He's like, you knew what would happen, and you knew that these people were going to die, and you still brought this person. And so they give him a chef jacket, and they say, go, he's trying to make something.
Yeah, if you're he's such a foodie, and he knows, like, he's such a pretentious D-bag. Every time they get a meal or something, he has to explain, he has to mansplain it to
explain like what's inside the tea.
but he's so snooty. He takes a little bite of something and it explains all
hate
the,
that. I
it
hate it.
sits there just, and it's so pretentious. But so he's like, acts like he knows all this stuff and is so intellectual.
And Chef breaks
show
him
us how
down.
to make this,
and
make
he
us a
makes
meal.
some horrible dish, and Chef is like, this is the worst thing I've ever had.
It's,
And he says something we don't know what he says.
Yeah.
He says something, and Nicholas Hoult, I also didn't realize how big he was.
oh, he's a tall
Like
guy.
when he's standing next to Ray Fiennes, I was like, oh, dang.
oh yeah, Nicholas Holt's a tall guy.
He takes his tie off and just walks away. And I was watching this with Leanne. I was like, oh, he's dead. And then we see him later hanging from a bar, like he had hung himself with his own tie. So much like the sous chef, Chef has the magic word to pretty much get you to do whatever he wants.
Yeah. The documentary I was talking about is called The Deep End. It's only 4 episodes.
Oh, okay. I'll give that a
It's-
look for
but
sure.
it's-
On Hulu?
It's on Hulu, yeah.
Okay. So Chef tasks Margot with bringing this barrel back, and she's doing it because Elsa didn't do it. There's a fight. This is the part that I was like, this is kind of like The Hunt.
It's kind of like Willy Wonka.
Kind of.
Well, you got all these people that go to follow this charismatic person to tour his facilities.
And it's all the rich people.
And
that
the
get-
rich people
Okay.
that feel entitled
And she's
to
Charlie.
this thing.
She's Charlie.
And she's Charlie, and she doesn't really deserve to be there, but
true.
she's flawed.
Nicholas Hoult is very much like Grandpa Joe.
Like
That
Margot ends up killing Elsa, and I do like that Elsa says he never told me to get that barrel. Like, and it was like,
There's
oh,
like this,
dang it.
yeah. He acts like she failed. Elsa failed because she didn't get this barrel,
Right.
And her dying words are just clinging to
Like,
he
he never
asked
told me.
I did my job
Right.
right.
Yeah. So this is where Anya Taylor-Joy or Margot sees the picture of Chef being so happy cooking this cheeseburger. So they go and we're getting to the final course of the meal, and Margot does the one thing that nobody's allowed to do. She says, "Your food sucks.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I'm sending it back." And then she says,
Well, that's the thing. It's not that they're not allowed to do it. They're all too scared
That's
to do
exactly it.
They don't want to stand up and be like, this isn't good.
Right.
Right?
This
like,
is not fun.
yeah.
That, and which I mean is such a huge commentary on people going along with the crowd. Oh, I'm supposed to like this movie. I'm supposed this movie, this music, this art, this
It's
painting,
like fine art. Thank you.
This painting with the splatters on it that a 2-year-old could make is worth $20 million, and we're supposed to say that's amazing high art.
Yeah.
When if someone really stood up and goes, a baby could make that. It is
Let's
just
go talk to Jim Lee about high art.
Right.
But
But
it's a
it's-
little bit more intricate.
Yeah,
than-
it splatters on a canvas, but if you're rich and you say that, you are now out of the club.
Right.
You can't. You have to appreciate fine art for what
Yep.
it. And so she stands up,
But
and
she's
she
also a
says-
service member, right? Like
Yeah.
she's in the service industry,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
she's like,
one way to put it,
That's
yeah.
just what it is. Like it's, and he's like, "What can I do? Like, what can I make you?" And she was like, "A cheeseburger, regular cheeseburger, American cheese with fries."
Yeah.
And like this is the scene we're talking about, where like he starts making it, and there's like a crease in his face where he's starting to smile. She takes a bite, and she was like, "Yep, this is the greatest cheeseburger I've ever had in my life. I'd like to leave." How much is
My
this gonna
eyes were bigger than
my
my
eyes were
stomach.
bigger than my stomach. Also, how much is this going to set me back? And I appreciate that she only paid for what she ate.
Yeah.
Right? She gives him $10 for the cheeseburger and fries, and
See,
he boxes it up.
I was appalled at that
oh, really?
because she didn't tip.
I thought the same thing.
But they retcon that a few minutes later about they referenced that their services are tip included.
I think if anybody was going to tip, it would have been her.
Correct.
But then when they do retcon and said gratuities included, I was
yeah,
like,
because
okay,
I was just like, no, if you work in the service industry, you tip.
You absolutely tip.
That's BS.
Right.
And so I was glad that they referenced that, because I was honestly like, he should kill her for not tipping.
But yeah, this is a smart movie, so they thought of that, which
Yeah.
is appreciated.
The other thing we didn't talk about
The Coast
is
Guard?
the Coast Guard.
That was a tense moment.
It
the
was.
standoff, and
And
they're
then-
trying to like tip him off, like help, like someone writes on a note.
Oh
help.
yeah, he was like, "Oh, you're so into to John Leguizamo."
Oh, can I get your autograph?
And he was Chef goes, "Would you like him to give you?" It's a test from Chef immediately.
Yeah.
Like, would you like him to get an autograph? And he was like, "Oh yeah." And John Leguizamo writes, "Help me" on there. And as the Coast Guard guy, which also I was looking at the way he was dressed, I was like, that guy's on the Coast Guard. Like he's wearing like
Party City.
a Magnum PI shirt and jeans.
Well, it's like a Party City
did,
Coast
yeah,
Guard
right.
costume. Yeah.
I think, I mean, I have to watch it again, but I think if you watch, like, you see him cooking in the background.
Oh,
yeah.
he's
You do
one of
because
the-
he goes back.
Yeah, because I later I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I think that's the guy who was just
Yes.
That's
you do see him
clever.
later. But that's the thing is like he goes to like you think he's gonna shoot Chef, but he just lights a candle and he's like, "Congratulations, Dale! Like that was a great." He's like, "Oh, thanks, Chef," and they go back and, yeah. So he makes a cheeseburger and he allows her to leave. He was like, "You're free. Like, thank you. Like, I hope you enjoyed your stay here." And she just gets up and's like, "Okay, bye."
Yeah.
and like gets the hell out of
She
there.
brought him back to a place and time where he was happy.
Yes.
Cooking for people that would appreciate his work, and then she couldn't finish it, so she had to get it to go.
and then he
And
was
so-
okay with
I
it.
also liked that, like, she didn't then she stops insulting it. Like she's like, my eyes were bigger than my stomach.
Right.
Can I get this to go?
And he was like, at one moment, please.
Yeah.
And comes back with a
So
box.
meanwhile, the dessert.
So initially I was like, oh man, what are they doing? And then I saw one of the guys with a giant graham cracker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I looked at my wife and I was like,
S'mores.
he's going to turn them into s'mores.
I said the same. That was instantly like they're s'mores.
They're s'mores.
It's great the way that they're decorating it. Like you said, they don't pull back, and you're like, "What are they doing?" They're pouring stuff and moving all this, and then you go overhead, and they're creating this giant s'more delicacy.
There's
dessert.
one. If you look at it, if you go back and rewatch this little clip,
Yeah.
there's one guy who looks like he's carrying like a giant
Marshmallow or
dry.
something,
No, it's
right?
like a giant drywall graham cracker.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, the graham. Yeah.
And then they start putting, it looks like the thing from Midsommar.
Yeah.
Where they're putting like the marshmallow
Yeah.
dress on these
them,
people,
yeah. They
and
turn-
then they get little chocolate hats.
so ridiculous.
and
but-
and then Chef is just like, thank you all for, pay up, make sure everybody's paid.
Everybody
and
still pays.
everybody's-
Like-
and everybody still paid. I like that all the tech bros try to throw their credit cards in first.
Yeah.
And he sets everything on fire. And there's actually a pretty gnarly scene where I think it's Judith Light's character, where like the chocolate is like melting into her eyes.
yeah.
And like they hold on that for a
Yeah.
second. I was like, oh God, that would be awful. And everybody dies.
Yep.
And Margot is on a boat, which I do like that she was just like hitting switches trying to get that thing to work.
Martugo.
Martu, get the hell out of here.
takes a big bite of her cheeseburger.
She
And just
gets,
watches it burn.
and just watches it burn, and that's how it ends. I'm really glad that this got made.
Yeah.
I think this
This
is
is
a lot.
cool.
This is a lot of fun. I think this is really good.
It was so different. I loved
Yeah.
it. I loved how it worked on the level of, I mean, we've read into a lot of the meaning and everything, but like it just works on a level of a weird suspense
Yeah.
esque movie.
No,
but it also
it's-
has a lot to say about consumerism and capitalism and just, all the
Criticism.
criticism and the snobbery and elite class. And,
Right.
and, there's so much to say with it, but it also is just a movie with really good performances, really tense.
Yeah.
Really
No,
creepy.
really good. I think we said this comes out this week.
This just released, so when the time this episode is out, it is on HBO Max streaming.
Yeah, so I highly recommend that. It's fantastic. And I'm glad that like there's a spot for this in theaters.
Yeah.
Like
And it did well. It says it made $70 million on a $30 million budget.
Hey, man, that's a big old win.
Good.
Yeah.
That's a big old win. So yeah, the menu. Don't eat at his restaurant.
Well, you can't because
I guess that's true.
it's out of business.
It's out of business.
It is out of
Yeah.
business.
But if anyone ever asks you to go to a secluded island and eat with an elite chef,
Don't do it. Or you know what? Maybe do it. I don't know.
I'm like, does Castaway Key count?
No.
That's okay.
That does not count.
They don't have an elite chef on that island.
No, they don't.
This
There's somebody named Mark.
the director of this, his name is Mark
Oh.
Milad, and his first film was Ali G into House.
Is that right?
That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, he works on. I think he's directed a bunch of episodes of Succession.
Yeah, he's got a lot of
okay.
entourage. Talk about like
Yeah,
some
yeah, that's-
elite.
But I guess he's part of that Adam McKay world because Adam McKay is behind this, but Adam McKay is also behind Succession.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's my guess is how he. And this now once I saw that I was like that makes sense.
It does make
like,
sense.
I don't know if you watch Succession or not,
No.
but one it's really good. But there's
That's the Brian Cox one?
yeah.
Okay.
But the way that this is filmed, I'm like I see that, and the way that he handles the dialogue and you get like kind of snippets to explain what's going on rather
Okay,
than just
okay.
spoon feeding it to you. That's Succession is a lot of that kind
I'll
of
check that out.
style of stuff.
He has 6 episodes of Game of Thrones that he directed.
Well, as long as it's not the other two.
Shameless. I mean, he's got a lot of credits.
That's the advantage of the TV
Lot
stuff,
of
man.
TV
Is
credits, yeah.
you can hone your craft on TV and then
Especially in today's world where TV is so much better.
yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you know
I
what I mean? It used to be TV was basically like you just point the camera and kind of shoot it.
Right,
And it's
right.
very different.
But if
now.
you can handle 6 episodes of Game of Thrones that
Right.
has $10 million budget, I mean, Game of Thrones episodes, and I mean, last season aside, we won't get into that, but
But
when you have
still, from a technical standpoint,
$10 million
Yeah.
is more than most like indie
Yeah.
art house movies. And
Blumhouse
you're
doesn't give $10 million.
Yeah, and you're talking about
if you
one,
made 6 Game of Thrones episodes, that's basically 3 feature-length films.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no,
and
it's totally
so
true.
being able to handle that, and that, I mean, the scope of Game of Thrones, well, the stories and the special effects and all, I mean, there's a lot going on there. So
Mm-hmm.
if you make that work, and they did for a very long time, but that's, to direct 6 episodes of that, I think is very impressive.
And you get a Thor movie. The guy they did Thor 2. Somebody did.
Oh, really?
That was a Game of Thrones guy. Did Thor 2.
Oh, because it's like, I guess, has he done anything since? 'Cause
Probably
I don't
not.
know.
He's like, can I get my job back at Game of Thrones?
So
there you go.
Anyway, I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find
This
us.
is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at Joey Butts, BUTTS21.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
And this is Tom. You can follow me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online, facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon, patreon.com/Real Spoilers, where for $5 a month, you get all sorts of bonus content and we like you more. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, Carl and Inez get remarried.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you.